Hello, everyone. I'm Brad Thomas here with Vaughn Dalzell and Eric Froton, and this is the live college football Q&A special bowl edition this Wednesday. Thank you to everyone who is joining us on our many different channels. We're going to talk about the bowls, break them down, but first, I want to ask you guys, we'll start with you, Eric. Man, are you excited that it's bowl season?
Excited? Well, of course I am, Brad. You know I'm excited. You saw the video I cut last night advising all of our listeners and our viewers to spray the board with unders on that Oklahoma State-Wisconsin game. So I'm loving it. Everything about bowl season you get, and especially this stretch, we get Wednesday through, actually you start yesterday, Tuesday through Monday, where we just get wall-to-wall games all day, every day during the weekdays. I mean, this is what the holidays are all about, right? Wall-to-wall college football and games that we have props, we have different lines out for that we can go over. I mean, this is the grand finale before we have to wait another 9 months before we get to quench our unquenchable thirst for college football.
Vaughn, how you been doing, man? How's the college football playoffs bowl season going for you?
We've been good. If you've been following the picks on the NBC Sports EDGE site, we're 7-3 in our last 10 now in the bowl game. So had to stay up till 1:30 Eastern last night to watch that slugfest of an under in Wisconsin. And man, was that sweaty, because I'm laying in my bed at 1:30 in the morning thinking they're going to score a touchdown, and I'm going to be so mad that tomorrow morning I won't be able to think about anything else. But here we are. I had a happy holidays. There's a lot of movement on the board so far today. We've seen some spreads move 2 to 3 points, so hopefully we can get some value. You guys can give out some great props, and we can all continue to win and have a happy new year, of course.
Man, I'm actually kind of excited. I started the bowl season off pretty rough, like 2-9, been doing pretty well. I thought I was going to hit the most massive parlay yesterday with ECU -3 and Wisconsin -14. Oh my God, the parlay was so juicy, baby. And then all of a sudden on 4th and goal, they couldn't get the stop. An underhand pitch kind of annihilated that. But I'm glad to be talking college football. Let's get right into it. Let's
that underhand
talking. The underpaid. So underhand pitch screwed me, but the underpaid. Let's talk about our best bets. I'll start with you, Eric, since you are the captain of the ship at 12-3 this season.
Well, that's much appreciated. Gosh, Brad, I'll take it. But in terms of my best bet right out of the gate, I'm going to go with a bet from a game that'll be starting in a mere 26 minutes, which is why we decided to go so early. Duke versus UCF. I am taking the under 55 rushing yards on Duke running back Jalen Coleman. You know, a few different things going into this specific play. That's on DraftKings, by the way. On FanDuel, I had seen it at 44.5 yesterday. Not sure where it's hanging right now. With Coleman, throughout the first 5 weeks, he was getting right around 10 carries. You're right in that ballpark before he exploded in week 5 against Virginia, 18 carries, 94 yards. However, he got hurt in that particular contest, ended up missing about 5 games. So in that time frame, we saw Jaquez Moore, as well as Jordan Waters kind of establish themselves. And frankly, they've been better since Jalen Coleman came back in week 11, Virginia Tech. 13 carries, 50 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. Week 12, Pittsburgh, 12 for 33, 2.8. And their last game, 12 for 37, 3.1 yards per carry against Wake Forest. What it comes down to is Coleman has been outperformed for each of these 3 games where he came back. He had his best game of the season in week 5, has come back, and he's not the same guy. We've seen both running backs be better on a per carry basis over the past 2 weeks. And I simply just don't think with a 3-man running back rotation that they're going to be able to go and you're going to take 55.5 yards, the over on Jalen Coleman, where he's hit that exactly twice all season. I just think this is bad process. I can't believe DraftKings continues to hang it up there at 55.5 yards, even at -135. Split backfield situations are bad enough, but when you got 3 chefs in the kitchen, you spoil the broth. Give me the under on Jalen Coleman, 55.5 rushing yards.
Okay, so question for you. Would you play 48.5, or is that just a little too low?
Is it down to 48.5 right now on DraftKings? I literally right before we started, it was 55. It's showing 55 here. 48, okay. I would still consider it a go. Once you get into the 44.5 range, you probably want to hedge. I'm seeing it right now on DraftKings. It's minus 135, but it's still at 55.5 yards. I would take the yardage here. I always, unless it's going to be, a great deal, you want those extra yards because that's a win. That's just plain win if you get a chance to get it. So it's my
cool. Yeah, Mark, you said go ahead. Go still play it. Let's move over to my best bets, 8-6 on the season. And you guys know I love this play, and I cannot believe they're hanging this here at 29.5 rushing yards for Bo Nix, quarterback from Oregon. Listen, I'm not even going to go through all these running quarterbacks that UNC played because they luckily dodged a lot of them due to injury, but they still allowed every mobile quarterback to break the 30 number on them. In Bo Nix so far this season, he's hit 7 of his last 8 rushing overs. Yes, that is over 61% ROI if you got him at the minus 110 to minus 115 range. So I'm taking Bo Nix. He's not going to get sacked a lot. This Oregon team doesn't allow a lot of sacks, and I'm not overly concerned about this UNC team. My issue that I do get a little worried about is with UNC being down so many DBs and guys in the secondary, he's going to have a little bit easier of a time throwing the ball, so he won't be forced to run as much. But when running is your second nature, I don't care if you're playing against a high school team, you're going to want to run the ball. And all it takes is about 3 to 4 carries for Bo Nix to clear this 9. So give me Bo Nix over 29.5 rushing yards. I threw 2 units on that. I think anywhere around under 34 is good for me.
Yeah, it's an interesting play because Bo Nix was banged up over the past couple games of the season. Clearly, gutted it out in order to try to get those wins because he's a gamer. And especially after you spent 2 seasons at Auburn, any victory you can get is within reach. You're going to play for. So the thing is with him, he's had a month off. Yeah. So, even though he was, running around on a bum wheel a month ago, he's had time to heal. Hopefully, he's feeling good. I will say that I am in San Diego, as we all know. It is damp out here. It is rainy San Diego today, believe it or not. The rain is expected to stop by 5 p.m. And also, San Diego rain isn't the same as, real rain. So, keep that in mind. But we should have some wet conditions out here, which I think does favor Oregon since, hey, they are ducks. Ducks like water. They practice all the time in the rain in Eugene. It's a little edge for Oregon.
Yeah, I love that. Listen, I'll say this. The books are watching, Eric. I'm watching this line fall down that you just gave out. I love it. Vaughn, go ahead.
Where's it at now? Is it continuing?
It's just dropping like 1 or 2 yards per like every 40 seconds. All right, Vaughn, give me your next pick, man. Tell me what you like in the Washington-Texas game.
Make sure you guys go get that play. I feel like we're going to get another prop in this game. I feel like one of you guys are going to have the quarterback I'm going to talk about in this one. But Michael Penix Jr., the former Indiana transfer, is second in the whole country in passing yards. This guy has been obliterating secondaries left and right. And now you get a Texas Longhorns team, guys, who we've watched more than a few times this year and haven't been impressed with defensively, especially in the secondary. I look at them, man, 239 yards per game allowed through the air, 10 yards per completion. That's 90th in the country. And you look at the third down defense for Texas, my God. 39%, which is 79th in the country. Washington's third down offense, number 1 in the country at 57%. So I feel like the Huskies, Penix Jr., they'll all be able to move the ball. And we were hype on Quinn Ewers early in the season, guys. I don't think that's the case anymore. If this is going to be a shootout, I really like the Huskies to win this game outright. Quinn Ewers only has 2 games over 225 passing yards this entire season. All right, big bowl game here. I like the Huskies. I think they're very underrated, and Texas Longhorns very overrated. So give me that 3.5. I'll play the 3. I also played the money line. What you guys think?
I like that a lot. You basically are neutralizing the run game of Texas with two of their best backs out.
Bijan's out.
Bijan out, and I'm drawing a blank.
Rashawn Johnson,
who's actually a really good back. We've seen when Quinn Ewers had to have the ball in his hands to make the decisions throughout the game, he struggled. So I like this. The only thing that I'm on it, but the only thing that worried me, if I always want to play devil's advocate with my picks, is it's the Alamo Bowl. It's pretty much a home game for Texas, I think Washington rolls here. Us getting points for them is still good for me. What do you think, Eric?
I completely agree. Frankly, Vaughn, if you weren't going to talk about Penix, I had him queued up and ready to go for when we go through the Washington game. Listen, he has hit this 307.5 passing yards mark. I believe that's what it was. He's done that 10 of 12 games. The 2 games he didn't clear the 307.5 mark. One was Colorado. All right, anybody who's watching this show, I think they know what's going on in Colorado by now and how it was legitimately the worst team, hands down, in the Power 5 last season. They weren't even remotely competitive in the vast majority of their games. It's just an absolute dumpster fire. Deion's there for a reason. But he only threw for 229 yards against Colorado because he didn't need to do anything against Colorado. So you can toss that out as a comp right away. And the other game was he went for 298 against Oregon State. And as most of us know already, Oregon State was a wagon this year. You saw them. They beat Oregon in the last game of the season, the Civil War. And their ball control ability, that offensive line, Damian Martinez, punishing running back, and an excellent defense. They play ball control, they play slow, and they shorten games. 298 yards against Oregon State is really good. Yeah, you're not going to see many of those. So I just think with those 2 comps being the only ones that are under 307.5, man, you got to take Penix. Throw 503 passes this year. That's insane. So anytime you average over 40 a game, roll it up. Good to go.
I'm on that one too. I think there's going to be some real good quarterback props today. And I'll briefly say this because you mentioned Colorado. Shocking. Deion Sanders' son, Shadir Sanders, however you say his first name, is the favorite on Fox Sports to win the Heisman. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I'm so sick.
There's at least 50 players better than him in college football. At least.
I'm so sick. And you know what's crazy? I talked about this on a show I was on where this was By the Book. I was on By the Book, and I told them I thought it was crazy when he was priced 12-1. I thought that was still too low.
You guys are going to win 4 games.
Like, 12-1. Like, it's not like Caleb Williams going to USC, who has the quarterback guru. We have film on Sanders, and not saying that he wasn't a good quarterback, but Heisman favorite. I don't even think he should be in the top 10 for Heisman candidates.
Not a chance.
Correct.
Gross.
Yeah, if you have the Fox Sports betting app, go rob them for all their money right now. Do not pick everyone except Sanders. That is not going to happen. Not going to happen.
I actually don't like any of the favorites. I mean, any of the top 5 or what was it, top 6? Just because like you're gonna be paying a premium on Williams, you're gonna be paying a premium on Penix. Like it's just not worth the money at this point in the season unless you parlay them. But I don't think we see a repeat in the Heisman. When does that happen? You know. But,
Archie Griffin. That's it.
That's a long time.
76 and 77. End of list. That's it. And like you said, it's never the favorites that win the Heisman.
Ever.
It's always somebody else. So, as if you need any more reason not to bet Shadir Sanders, no offense to Deion, but come on.
I did the breakdown of the Heismans. Like the last favorite outside of Bryce Young to win the Heisman was like Matt Leinart. And Bryce Young went off at 8-1. Like, come on. That's 8-1. Like, literally, as a favorite. Now we're getting 2-1 on guys. Let's move on to the People's Parlay before I go on the super soapbox. All right, guys, listen. I'll start with mine. I'm on Florida State money line. I will be at that game. So if anybody's going to be out there, feel free to DM me on Twitter. I'll be out there tailgating, going to do the pregame and everything. But listen, Florida State, first of all, let's talk about the best ability is availability. Florida State has a lot of guys available for this game. Oklahoma, not so much. More importantly, Oklahoma's bell cow running back Gray is out. Oklahoma banged up throughout the season. And I just think this Florida State team is that much better. Listen, you guys aren't going to – I'm not going to get any arguments about if you want to say that Oklahoma probably didn't deserve to be in this game. 6-6 on the season and very much so did not impress. While Florida State is going in the right direction, Florida State's defensive line should be able to cause problems on the weaker Oklahoma offensive line, which is kind of crazy to say, seeing how it was 3-4 years ago when Oklahoma's won the best offensive line in college football award. I just think this is going to be a bloodbath. It's just two programs going in different directions right now. Two programs, one celebrating their season, the other one's trying to get to the offseason, get healthy, and try to get some new transfers in.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I'll go with my play. I'm taking UCLA -5.5 points. Now, Pitt, as we've seen in the offseason, has had an exodus. They've had 7 announced core players out, and there could be more. We never know. There's no such thing as an injury report here in college football, but in terms of what they're losing, obviously the quarterback Keaton Slovis, he exited stage left immediately. But obviously Israel Abanikanda, the Anaconda, as I like to call him, he will not be suiting up as well. Their number 1 running back, and who was, frankly sensational this season. He'll be going to the NFL. And then on the defensive side of the ball, All-American defensive tackle Kalijah Cansey, like the heart and soul of that defensive line, which Pat Narduzzi, year in, year out, just the rate which Pitt produces defensive linemen is frankly impressive. But he won't be playing. And, we're talking about a defense that was 11th ranked in the country in overall defense, 7th in EPA per play, 13th in success rate. This is a great defense for Pittsburgh. But they're going to be, obviously, they're not going to be able to control the ball as well as they could before because they don't have Abanikanda. So on the other side with UCLA, 4-game winning streak, 4-game run for them to end the season where they had an 80% win expectancy or better. Pretty good. Now they will have Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Zach Charbonnet. I think that's what everything's trending towards. I'm pretty sure DTR is playing. I think Charbonnet will. I wouldn't blame him if he doesn't. But regardless, they should have the majority of the regular season roster. And as we've seen in the offseason, you have to be able to parse what's happening with these rosters. I just don't think, with the roster continuity we're looking at for UCLA, not a great defense, of course, but can Pitt take advantage of it? I don't think they can. I think UCLA, with, like we said, the opt-outs they're dealing with, is going to be able to control the ball, and I think they're going to be able to cover this 5.5 point spread.
I'm no complaints from me. I'm on UCLA. I actually played them to -6 to get a little plus money, but 5.5 is -6, same thing. Vaughn, go ahead and finish us off for the People's Parlay.
We're going with that orange team versus the other orange team on Friday night. We're taking the more experienced one. Yeah, in the Orange Bowl. Who came up with this? Tennessee and Clemson. It's going to be a great game. 2 teams that play totally different offensive styles. Obviously, Clemson, slower paced team. They'll grind you out with the run, try and beat you in the trenches.
All right, so we'll just kick it back to Vaughn when he jumps back in. Yeah,
we got a Hugh Freeze here on the show.
So we're not leaving anybody hanging. We're going to let you know that
I'm going to go ahead and take Clemson here on the money line. I think that they're the better team, more experienced team. If Cade Klubnik gets in, watch out because he's putting up 40 points.
Love it.
Agreed.
People's Parlay pays plus 267. Let's go ahead and get this. We get this one. We're right back to even money on the season. This just goes to show you, right? Like, we've had a great season as college football bettors, how hard it is to build parlays.
Ooh.
Like, building parlays, especially 3 legs, is probably one of the most difficult things you can do. Let's talk a little bit about some major line movement before we get into the Military Bowl. I'm just going to highlight two line movements. We're going to talk about a flip. Duke flipped from +2 to -3.5. A lot of it has to do with no Mikey Keene, no John Reese Plumlee. O'Keefe is out. There's a lot of movement in that UCF team, injuries and transfer portal and draft. Another one I want to talk about, Oregon -10 to -14.5, and we'll discuss that. A lot of that has to do with defensive backs and downs declaring for the draft. So Military Bowl, Duke -3.5, taking on UCF, total set at 62.5. Eric, I'll start with you. Give us a prop that you like in this game.
Sure. Well, in terms of the game itself, as you mentioned, Duke -3.5 point favorites with the over/under actually getting pushed up 62.5. I kind of like that because, as you mentioned, there's some attrition over there on UCF's part, and even though they play extremely fast, 35th in pace, taking on Duke, who is the exact opposite. Mike Elko, first-year head coach. And defensive coordinator. Look, when we see defensive coordinators take over coaching positions, we know what they want to do. They want to protect their defense, and they play slow, 108th in terms of pace. But, this Duke team, good on the defensive line, 17th against the run, 11% havoc rate. So I do think that they can be a problem there. When it comes to the props, however, I'm looking at DraftKings, their receivers. Jalen Catalon is listed at 88.5 receiving yards. Now, for any receiver, that's a big number. Okay, you're not looking at a lot of 88.5s, and if they are, it's traditionally for superstar types. Like, for instance, obviously Ohio State's playing Georgia, but Marvin Harrison's only at 79.5. He's the best wide receiver in the country, even though they're playing Georgia's defense. So to see an 88 hung out here in a Duke game where they prefer to run the ball, they're not a particularly good throwing team. Mm-hmm. I just think that you get to these points, teams are going to, kind of go with their identity. So I don't think with a slow-paced team and with, even more importantly, Jordan Moore, the other receiver for Duke, has gotten 31 targets over the past 2 games and has really established himself as an outside receiver as the primary in this offense. I feel like this is a backwards-looking line at 88.5 receiving yards. I don't think he gets the volume that he needs to. I don't really think that Riley Leonard is a particularly talented quarterback as well that is going to be able to get him the ball even if he's schemed out. I just think there's too many things that need to happen for Jalen Calhoun to hit 89 receiving yards. I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, I played that as well. I played that at what? Oh, I played that at 80.5, so I put a quarter of a unit on it. But I guess you're talking me into playing that for a full unit, I guess. I'm on Duke. Listen, yeah, I'm on Duke -3. Hey, if a bet loses because of 8 yards, that's one that I swallow and I move on to the next one. Chin up, sir. But listen, I'm on Duke -3. As you guys know, I'm your resident UCF alumni here. And Thomas Castellanos under center did not look good. Yes, he has more time to prep, but he's also without Ryan O'Keefe. Like, you can't tell me that he's going to be out with their best wide receiver and going to be effective after he hasn't looked good so far this season. And then what's more importantly about me playing Duke in this game, and I'll say this, I thought the line was pretty fair when the line moved to -3, 3.5. I thought that was pretty fair, but, we're doing our bowl series, so I wanted to have a bet on every single game for all of the DGens out there. But what's more important is UCF is going to want to rely on Isaiah Bowser in the running game a lot more. This Duke defense is really good against the run. As much as it pains me, I think this is going to be one of those, if you've watched UCF's ascension into this stardom, this fun team to watch, this team that everyone's talking about, the bowl games have been celebrations for the end of the season. This one is, guys, let's reload. Wait for next year. We're going to be in the Big 12, and we'll actually try to make a bigger game, a New Year's Six game, a title game, whatever you want, what your aspirations are. So motivation factor is not going to be there like it has been in the last few games. So give me Duke -3.5, -3, whatever you play is cool with me.
Brad, I did sprinkle a little UCF +3.5, but it's just solely because Duke was 2.5-point dogs, now 3.5-point favorites. How to play that line movement, in my opinion. But my best bet's going to be the under in this game. A lot of what you guys said. I don't trust the quarterbacks of either team to get it done. UCF's defense has been awesome for the most part this season. Number 5 in red zone defense, 23 points per game allowed. You look at Duke, yeah, they've come a long way this year. I'll give them that for sure. They're like the Kansas Jayhawks. But they might have peaked a little bit too early at some point. So you look at them, team that hasn't played a bowl game in about 5 years. UCF's been in a bowl game every year since 2016. Brad, you know that more than anybody. I just don't see the value here in Duke laying more than a field goal against a team like UCF who has a great defense. Their offense may not be as good, and I don't trust Duke's offense to be as good as UCF's defense either. So give me the under 62.5. I don't think either of these teams reach 30 points. And maybe one does, but it's best bet for me.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I actually was going to ask Eric, but I don't know where the play went. Oh, I was going to say Calhoun reopened 88, so I just snagged him. So now I have a unit and a half on it, but I'm totally a unit and a quarter. So I'm totally cool with that. Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much.
You got it, brother. Of course.
Let's move over to the Liberty Bowl. Arkansas -2.5 versus Kansas. Total set at 69.5. Let's move over to you, Vaughn. Tell me what you like in this game.
Woo! I'm in Jeanette. If you guys didn't know, Jeanette, Pennsylvania, where I went to school growing up, is the Jeanette Jayhawks. So once a Jayhawk, always a Jayhawk. But we're betting the Arkansas Razorbacks today, baby. So listen to that. The Kansas Jayhawks peaked a little bit too early this year, in my opinion, guys. How we kind of talked about Duke, but Kansas may have been worse. They're 0-3 ATS on the money line their last 3 games. They've lost 6 of their last 7 games. Clearly not playing the best football. You look at both these defenses, I don't like anything about either of them, The fact that Jefferson's coming back from Arkansas, that makes me like the Razorbacks a little bit more. This might be like a little ramp up for a Heisman campaign next year because Arkansas has improved so much over the past 3-4 years. But this is a spot where I know Kansas is very excited. This is a bowl game. They haven't been in a bowl game since we were all probably like in high school. So they want to win this game. But I think Arkansas is the right side here. I think they're the better coach team, and I don't think that they're going to want to lose to them. So I took them on the money line. I'm going to look for a live spot. If I can get Kansas 7.5, I'm absolutely doing that today. So that's really how I'm looking. I'm trying to get Arkansas on the money line, Kansas +7 today.
Well, I understand where you're going there, of course, but when it comes to Kansas, Arkansas, you got to remember the SEC's 0-2. So, these SEC teams, when they get to these bowls and, they need to be actually motivated. They need to care. It's like so many of these SEC teams, they just get there like, we're not in a New Year's 6. I don't care. So I'm always nervous about that. But with Arkansas, defensively, they rank 116th against the run. And they are missing All-American middle linebacker Drew Sanders, an Alabama transfer before the season. He will be going to the NFL. We'll see him on Sundays, which is the heart and soul of the interior of that defense. He's absolutely the guy who makes everything work. He's the play caller, middle of the defense, everything. They're missing their inspiration. That's going to be a real problem. Kansas, as we know, outperformed expectations. Lagged a little bit in the second half, of course, because reality caught up with them. But Lance Leipold is an incredible coach.
Yep.
What he did with Wisconsin Whitewater, Buffalo, simply beyond reproach. But the thing is, they field the 10th best offense in the country. What I think they're going to do is I think they're going to take Devin Neal and they're going to run him. He's had a really good second half. The more carries you get, the better he does. We've seen Arkansas get run on pretty much all season long with many defections, many opt-outs. I just don't think that they're going to be able to stop Devin Neal. So that's one play. I like him at 81.5, the over. I also like Quentin Skinner, wide receiver, Kansas. Jalen Daniels will be throwing the ball. He's a dual threat. Again, I do think we will see plenty of rushing in this game. But with Skinner, Kansas, they're not like an air raid team. They're not throwing out different lines of receivers like it's a hockey game. They play their guys. But with Skinner, he plays the least out of all of the starting receivers. You'll see Grimm. You'll see Lawrence Arnold. They are absolutely on the field a heck of a lot more than him and targeted more. So with Skinner, he's at 35.5 yards, right? Last game, 1 target, 0 catches. 4 out of 5 the game before, 2 out of 4 the game before that, 1 out of 1, 4 out of 5, 1 out of 1. He's clearly, I would even say, the 4th option in this passing game because, Mason Fairchild, their tight end, is probably more important to their success. I am taking the under on 35.5 yards on Mr. His name was Quentin Skinner. I was going to say Quentin Grimes. We know it's not Quentin Grimes. He's a basketball player. Quentin Skinner.
Quentin Grimes is killing it lately. Quentin
Grimes is killing it. That's why he's on my mind.
I will say this for everyone who's tailing the props and you're betting on offshore, Prop Builder just released all of the lines. So make sure you get them now because literally as we talk, they're going to get destroyed, but they opened all at their opening prices. So go through as we're talking. We'll try to make sure we reiterate. Smash them. I'm on the over in this game. Listen, Eric touched on it a little bit. Arkansas, 60th in defensive FEI, 80th EPA versus pass, 77 points per ICO in defense. Down Drew Sanders, right? Then on the other side of the ball, Kansas hasn't been all that great either. 107th in defensive FEI, 120th in defensive success rate. And all season, both these teams have smashed the over. We have Arkansas 9-3 to the over and Kansas 8-4 to the over. I just love this game to be a nice, fun shootout. I do worry a little bit for if I want to play devil's advocate that both teams are going to run more than I'd like, but it's not going to be good offense not going to be good defense that we're going to see. So I like over 69 points. Totals have been fun so far this bowl season. I think that's where we've seen most of the success, at least on my end. So let's move over. Actually, Eric, I want to ask you this question. And hold on one second. Let me pull this right back up. Someone actually DM'd me this question.
Oh,
and
sweet.
They said, UCF game with O'Keefe out. With O'Keefe out, how does Baker not reach 50 yards receiving?
Well, Javon Baker has been probably the most targeted. I know it's close with him and O'Keefe, but O'Keefe was more the deep threat. Baker was more just the everything guy.
Yeah.
When they need a play, and you're a UCF guy, they would lock on to Baker. Alabama transfer, former high 4-star receiver, and he's made good. Sometimes you see the receivers transfer down, it doesn't work out, but Malzahn knows where his bread is buttered. If I'm taking an over, it would obviously be Javon Baker. Obviously. But as we stated, quarterback play,
it's not good.
That's something that certainly, is of some concern to me. Duke's pass defense isn't as much of a concern, but if I was going to take, it would be Baker. Again, Jordan Moore, again, 31 targets. I'd consider him if you really want it, but receiver overs, it's got to be really good for me to advise a receiver over, especially given the turnover we've seen, as mentioned with UCF, quarterback situation. While I do think he'll get 8 to 10 targets, I'm always nervous in the receiver over situations. So, hey, man, if you feels good, do it. If you're on it, I don't have a problem with Baker. Just as a rule, I'm always cautious about receiver unders and give them an extra look before you go and play them, just to be sure.
Receiver unders make my hurt every single time they make myself hurt. Hey, Eric, one more time. What was your receiver play in the Arkansas game?
The receiver. Well, what I was saying is, I liked Quentin Skinner. With Arkansas, they're missing Hazelwood, Warren Thompson left, Ketron Jackson. They're all in the portal. Well, Hazelwood went to the draft, but he opted out. All they really have from their top 4 is Matt Landers, who is a former Georgia transfer, went to Toledo, had a really nice 2021 before going over there. And he's been really good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's a force feed situation here. He's at 74.5 yards. I would think I'd have a hard time going under because of the sheer lack of other alternatives. But again, they don't throw much. And, 219.5 is KJ Jefferson's current line. So it shows you they're not expecting 300 yards here, at least on the Vegas front. So I would say, I don't feel comfortable taking any of the Kansas unders besides Skinner because of the lack of defense I see being played in this game.
What's KJ Jefferson's rushing yards against Kansas? I feel like that would be an interesting
play. I believe
play.
It's 45, high 40s, depending on where it's settled right now. 45 to 48 is where I've been seeing it posted. And I do think we see, he's a bowling ball.
Yeah,
he's a good runner. And obviously you got Raheem Sanders, who frankly, he might be the number 1 2024 NFL draft running back. He might be. It's him or Trevion. They're the 24 guys. I kind of like Raheem Sanders even a little more. He's so physical. The stiff arms are just violent. Oh, he finishes runs. He's fast.
Explosive.
He catches passes. He's explosive. Like, he does it all. So I just think you could see a legitimate steamroller rolled out by Arkansas here, because we know that Kansas isn't going to be able to bow up to them on the line. So I don't have a problem with that rushing over if that's the direction you're looking at.
Yeah, I looked at Rocket Sanders a little bit, and I was like, I can't play 118.5 in a bowl game. Like, I just can't do it. I think we said the same thing about Frank Gore Jr. and he ran for 300. So
yeah,
I know. I wouldn't take the under. I just
wouldn't take the under. No, you can't take the under.
Not in this game. Not with this game script. Not with the 69.5. No,
definitely not. All right, let's move over to the San Diego Credit Union Holiday Bowl. We touched on this a little bit, and guys, Oregon is a 13-point favorite. It's been moving all around. North Carolina. The total set at 75.5. I'll start with this one. I don't even know if this play is still available, but I gave this out a while ago, and it will be the sweatiest play you will see because I have Oregon set at team total set at 40. I'm going to eat Oregon team total under 41.5. It's plus 120, so I would not play it any lower, not play it plus. So in my article, I basically said when Bo Nix's rushing yards are released, I will be on his over. Right? I didn't think it was going to release at 29. We know he's been banged up. I'm still expecting 35.5. That's why I made it from 1 unit to two units, right? But this game has blowout potential written all over it. And when I say that, I don't mean that means Oregon is going to cover the 13 points here, right? It means that if Oregon gets an early lead, they're going to be more than fine with slowing the pace down, running the ball. Dan Lanning is going to want his defense to be out there and doing what they do best. I use quotations because they haven't been actually great in defense yet, but I think it's coming as they recruit better and the transfer portal happens. And that also leads me to another play that I like in this game, and that's Drake May over 278 passing yards. I think a lot of playing from behind, a lot of throwing in this game from North Carolina. We want to talk about North Carolina probably being down. They're down Josh Downs. They're down members in their secondary. There's just so much screams high success rate for Oregon, and I think the books set their team total a little too high. When you have games like this where the public is driving the number up, they're driving the total up. I'd say fair price would be 38.5, 39.5 for this team total. They set it at almost 42 points. It's going to be sweaty, but I'm on the under. It's plus money. Like, I think there's too much value in it not to play it. This is one of those where you play it, you watch the game, and if it blows up in your face, like ECU scoring 53 points yesterday, it blows up in your face. Go ahead and give me one of your plays, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. And frankly, I'm right there with you on Drake May, 278.5 on DraftKings. I think game script wise, we will see Oregon do pretty well. Yeah. Again, and even with dampness, well, that plays to their strength. I do think Oregon will be out to a lead, which I don't mind, because look, games, we want them to be throwing for UNC. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is Drake May. They will be throwing. In terms of the number he's at, 278.5, he cleared that in 9 of the first 10 games this season. Now, the last 3, he didn't clear it. Clemson, obviously, in the conference championship game, as we saw, he threw 42 times, completed 26, but only hit 268. That's fine. NC State, super slow game, threw the ball 49 times, didn't clear it. And then Georgia State only threw it 30 times. That was complete dumpster fire for UNC. So I think that script-wise, you will see Oregon get out to a lead, and UNC is going to have to throw. It stinks that they're missing Josh Downs. There's not much we can really do about that. They still got Antoine Green, and they do have a talented wide receiver core that I think will be able to fill in a little bit. So given the fact that I think they're going to be pushed to throw, I'm going with the over 278.5 passing yards for Drake May.
Love it, love it, love it. Vaughn, what you thinking about this game?
We still have about 30 minutes left of the show, but that's potential squad ride right there.
No,
now, you guys know I'm in PA, so I can't bet this myself, but I'm going to be there in spirit with you guys because I think this is the play. Like, I'm with you. I think North Carolina's going to trail. I think Oregon's not going to have many problems scoring and moving the ball on North Carolina's defense. And you look at some historical fact. I mean, it's Drake May and Bo Nix. Like, these guys can do anything. And Drake May should be the Heisman favorite next year, not Sanders, by the way.
Yeah.
Anyways, North Carolina's defense to end the season, 21, 30, and 39 points allowed to Georgia Tech, NC State, and Clemson. Those aren't very good game scripts. And you look at since 2013, there have been 15 bowl games with a total of 73 or higher. The over is 11-4. All right, 73%. So did I grab the over 72.5 and 73? I did. It's not an official bet at 75, but I think it's something you could sprinkle and play today. I think there's going to be great live betting value. Brad, you mentioned the East Carolina Coastal game.
Yeah.
That game had tons of live betting value. I played 59.5, 64.5, 66, 69, and 74.5.
I had to hedge out of my under so bad.
Same thing. I played not to go to unders in Wisconsin last night, and I was like, this sucks.
Oh,
but I think
a narrow escape on that under.
The narrowest. So I think you can live bet the Oregon North Carolina total. I think Drake May is the best player prop available in that game because of the game script, and I think Oregon's probably the right side, but I wouldn't lay 13 with them.
All right, let's move over to the Texas Bowl. Another Texas game. Ole Miss -3.5 versus Texas Tech. 71.5 points is the total. I'll kick this off. I'm on the under in this game. Listen, over 70 has only hit in 2 Ole Miss games this season. One was against Vanderbilt, who basically can't stop anyone. And the other one was at home against Auburn, who are 73rd in EPA, defense EPA. And Texas Tech, you might say Texas Tech is a bad defense, but if you do anything other than look at the box score, you know that they can play defense when it matters. And one thing about this Ole Miss team is they have the best play caller in college football until it gets to the red zone. The red zone offensive touchdown rate is not as high as you suggest for having a guy as Lane Kiffin's caliber. So I'm on under 71 points. Eric, give me a play that you like in this game.
Yeah, well, this is a game that there's some angles I think that you can play here, frankly. With these two teams, third and fourth in pace. Lightning quick. Both these teams want to go fast. You obviously have Zach Kittley, offensive coordinator for Texas Tech. I mean, he was over at Western Kentucky last year, parlayed that into a Power 5 gig, just like his successor at Western Kentucky, Zach Arbuckle. No, not Zach. Whatever. Last name's Arbuckle. And he is heading over to the Power 5 as well now. So, that's been a real nice stepping stone, the Western Kentucky offense. And look, when it comes to the props in this game, I got a few. Going to start with Texas Tech. Xavier White, wide receiver. With the guys that are currently listed out there for Texas Tech, you're looking at Miles Price, Jerand Bradley, and White. Of those guys and of the starters, White is by far the most variable when it comes to his snaps. I'm going to go start at the last game, then I'm going to go 5 games back. Last game against Oklahoma, 1 of 2 targets for 4 yards. He was out there for 26 snaps. That's the most snaps he's played in the last 5 games. Okay, previous game out there, only 10 routes he went out there and run. Game before that against Kansas, obviously plenty of opportunity, only 17 pass routes. TCU 4 games ago, only 25 pass routes. He only got 2 looks. And then the game before that, Baylor, 16 pass routes. So what it comes down to with Xavier White is he starts some weeks, but he's also coming off the bench. 2 of the last 3 games, he didn't start. He's being put out at 55.5 yards like he is a starter who will be out there every snap, like Miles Price, like Jerand Bradley. I am going under comfortably on Xavier White. I love that play for this game. Now, that being said, I'm going to move over to the quarterback situation. Okay, so this game I've got a few plays. I'm going to be all over this. I like Jackson Darts over. He's at 218.5 on DraftKings. I think that's a play. I think that's going to be good because, again, game script wise, these are the two of the 5 fastest teams in the entire country. They're going to be humming. On Texas Tech's side, Tyler Shuck is starting. However, Baron Morton missed the last few games, the last 3-4 games with a leg injury, lower leg injury, I believe, foot, ankle type of a deal. So he was out, and Tyler Shuck started those 3 games. The previous games before Morton got hurt, he was in. He was the starter for those 4 contests leading up to when he got injured. Shuck comes in, and he's been okay. Not great, not bad. He's been okay. But the problem is this. He was listed open to 274 on DraftKings, down to 265.5, on FanDuel. Down to 265 on FanDuel. He's at 256 on DraftKings. Baron Morton, 2 nights ago, Ole Miss and Texas Tech had a rodeo event. I don't know why. These are the bowl games. I didn't arrange it. Don't look at me. But they had a rodeo event where you had teams trying to corral and brand a steer, a calf, in other words. Again, barbaric, yes, but this is what they were doing. Baron Morton, all right, and it's on Twitter. I will probably even tweet it out after this, was the guy with the brand running after the steer, the calf, when the linemen are hog-tying it and then running away so he doesn't get impaled. If you can go and brand a steer, okay, in a rodeo 2 days ago, you can play football. I don't think that's particularly a hot take. As stated, Morton can play. He was plenty mobile out there. Not worried about it. Joey McGuire, the head coach, had said he's been practicing for weeks while he was, ramping up. He's been practicing. He's not ramping up anymore. He's good to go. I think that we're getting some subterfuge here. And I haven't heard this reported anywhere. This is just me reading the tea leaves, okay? Maybe it's wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm taking the under at Tyler Shucks rushing. I'm taking the under at Tyler Shucks passing. One, he's not good. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I've watched enough of him to know this. And then two, I don't think he sees the field long enough to be able to get those yardage, especially the 265 and a half. You're going to have to play a full game to be able to pull that off because they run the ball more than you'd think. Texas Tech with Sir Robert Thompson, who is healthy apparently, and Taj Brooks. I'm going with that. I'm suggesting I hope this is true. This is me reading the tea leaves. This is my gut call. This is what I'm going with. Tyler Shuck under. I don't think he finishes the game. Baron Morton is a better quarterback. He started the last 3 games. I'm going with it.
Eric, let me ask you this. I looked on DraftKings, and it looks like Dart's up to 229. You playing over still?
He's at 218.5 on FanDuel. I would take that.
Oh, FanDuel. Okay.
I would not. What's the point? It's 11 yards. I think it'll be around there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say hold off. If you have FanDuel, grab it.
All right, cool. Thank you. Let's move over. Actually, before we move over, quick question. What is the threshold on rushing with Knicks? My books is giving me 34.5. I thought it was going to open at 35.5, so I'd play that for 1 unit. But you start to get a little bit past that 1% rule, which you should take in player props. Rushing, especially with a quarterback, is very, very finite because of sacks. So just don't go too crazy.
I want to say, I think last time I had checked, I want to say he was at 29.5 on FanDuel. He's at 34.5 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
You can get that 20.5, get it.
I didn't even have FanDuel open to look at these lines.
Well, you're in Florida, Brad. They're not very nice to you. In your defense.
I know. I'd be sending out the text, the bat signal. Hey, can you take this props for me?
Who can get my action in?
All right, let's move on. Let's put a little pace on this one. Pinstripe Bowl, Minnesota, 9.5 point favorite versus Syracuse. 42 is the total. Go ahead and lead us off, Vaughn.
Yeah, you said a little pace for this one. There ain't going to be no pace in this one, Brad. It's going to be so slow. This is going to be the most boring game so far, and I can't wait to bet the under, kicking us off on, Thursday or Friday game. But, yeah, Minnesota replacing quarterback and a running back. Syracuse has been losing left and right, losing 5 of their last 6 games. They beat Boston College, who we sometimes, make jokes on because BC is not that great of a football team.
Deservedly.
But right now, Syracuse probably playing their worst football of the entire season after starting off 6-0. And Minnesota's defense, their last 5 opponents, they've all scored 16 or fewer points. And you got Syracuse orange football. Yeah, they're in the Bronx. Yeah, they're in a baseball stadium. But that makes it even better for an under, in my opinion. So give me the under 42.5 in this game. Don't think about it.
Yeah, Vaughn, you and I are in the same page here. The Orange, who early in the season had an incredible start, relied in large part on the new offensive coordinator, Robert and I. We've talked about him plenty of times here. And he was a key figure in Syracuse because they were averaging 8.1 yards per pass. That's 24th in the FBS. If you know anything about Syracuse last year, they could barely advance the ball forward via the pass last year. They pretty much had to go with a straight option attack. So that is not a small feat for Mr. Anai. Now, he's gone. He's over at NC State. Okay? So we aren't going to get him. He's not going to have that innovative play calling that actually helped propel them the first half of the season. That's an issue. We're dealing with Minnesota here, too. We know about their defense. We know they're going to play at an extremely slow pace, and we know that they're going to absolutely attempt to bludgeon Syracuse with their run game. Maybe Mohamed Ibrahim plays, maybe not. They still got Trace and Potts. Yeah, and, behind him, and Zach Evans, sensational true freshman. Not worried about it at all. Again, Minnesota, I think they win this game by more than the 10 points. I do think it goes under because I don't see how Syracuse is going to be able to threaten this defense that ranks 5th nationally with a plus 14% next success rate. All right, that's ridiculous. Their run defense is 12th in the nation, and we know that Syracuse is not going to be able to throw as well, and they don't have Sean Tucker.
Yep.
All these things involved. You gotta go under in Minnesota. I can't take Hughes.
Yeah, I like the under too. I'm on Minnesota minus 9.5. Listen, you said it. Like, they're gonna be lifeless without Sean Tucker. And no offense yet, but I think Dino Babers is a little clueless when he plays against good defenses. And this Minnesota has a top 10 defense. So if you want to play under, cool. If you want to play Minnesota, I think there's gonna be something like, man, I didn't make a projected score for this because I didn't know how Syracuse scores. Like, if Syracuse scores more than 7 points, I'd be surprised.
Team total under is a good one.
Yeah, it is. Let's move over to the Cheez-It Bowl. Florida State, Oklahoma. I touched on it a little bit. Listen, man, I just keep getting, every time I see this game, I'm like, why are they giving us free money here? Like, if you look at the team's full strength, right? You look at the team's full strength, I would have still taken Florida State minus 9.5 in this game. What has Oklahoma proved all season that they can keep going toe-to-toe with this Florida State team who's got a good defensive line, who has a quarterback in Jordan Travis who's playing really good football, who runs the ball well against a bad running defense? Like, Oklahoma, they do smoke and mirrors all season, right? We thought Oklahoma would be good early this season. Then we learned quick against Kent State that they're not any good. They still tried to cover the spread in that game by scoring 30-plus points in the second half, but they're not good. I'm going to let someone else take it. I don't want to take all the good points on this. Eric, go ahead. You go.
Oh, more than happy to. Yeah, with Oklahoma, you look at what they did this season. What are their signature wins? Look at their wins. Okay, we have Kansas. They survived Kansas, 51-48. Survived. That's a win? Okay. Iowa State. We know how bad their offense was this year, losing Brock Purdy and Breece Hall and having to restock with all those, 3-star. No, I mean, just awful offense. Congratulations. And then Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma State without Spencer Sanders.
Yeah.
Like, what has this team done that even deserves to be in this conference, even deserves to be within 10 points here? I can't figure out anything. They're 97th against the run, Oklahoma. And as we know, Trey Benson is coming for you, Sooners. He's coming. Florida State is going to maul them on the ground. And as well, it doesn't even help them if they get down because Florida State's 10th against the pass. And then if they get a run, again, okay, good luck. Eric Gray is out. They're Oklahoma's leading receiver. He has opted out. Florida State, year 3 of Mike Norvell. They got 9 wins. This is a team that's been starved for a 10-win season since 2016. They want this game. They're going to be playing hard. They want that 10 wins. They want the world to know that Florida State is back. I cannot back Oklahoma. Give me Florida State.
I'm with you. We got Eric, Brad, and V-Money. All right. We got a squad ride. This is a squad ride spread. And we were unofficial on the Wisconsin under. Even Zach Kruger, our boy Zach, was on the under too. All 4 of us.
Clean sweep on that. Exactly.
Let's go with FSU on this one. I mean, you guys hit a lot of the good points, though. I mean, the only game Oklahoma has been an underdog all season was against Texas as a 7.5-point dog. And they got absolutely shellacked 49-0 in that game. They're just not playing good football. They have everybody opting out right now. And they're just not the team to buy into, where Florida State really, really wants to win and smack everybody. All right, they've been a team we ride all season, so let's continue to do it. Seminoles, they win by 10. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. Listen, and we didn't touch on this, but both of the linemen the tackles are out for Oklahoma against the Florida State team who's 7th in the country in sack rate, top 10 in pressure rate. Like, it's going to be a long night. I'm just really excited about that game. I'm going to be there. I'm hopefully going to be on the field, cashing bets while I'm on the field.
Wow.
So, you're going to be on the field? Yeah, Brad. You get press pass for that?
I entered this thing for the company that I do scouting for, and so I'll find out today. But I should, fingers crossed, be on the field.
Well, ditto. I might be on there for the Holiday Bowl. Oregon-UNC. I'm going. I've got the press pass. I'll at least be in the box. I'm going to try to wiggle down to the field and cut a video. We'll see about that.
That'll be sweet. That'll be sweet.
We're both represented.
Yes, sir. All right, let's move over to the Valero Alamo Bowl. Texas is a 3.5-point favorite to Washington. We touched on this. I'm with V-Money here. I like Washington. Listen, I said it. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I want to get to the other bowls. But pretty much this Texas team is going to have to rely on Quinn Ewers, who has proven time and time again that he is not ready. And I do think he's going to start hearing the footsteps next year when the 5-star comes in and Mr. Arch Manning, Washington, led by Penix. This is a good team. They've struggled against the pass, but I'm not overly concerned about Quinn Ewers beating them through the air, especially since they're the dog. If I had to cover 5, it might be a different story. I do think Washington wins this game, but we're getting points for a team who I think is better in a better situation. So give me Washington. Go ahead and do your play, Eric. Tell me what you like.
Yeah, sure. As stated, there's Michael Penix, myself, and Vaughn. That was Vaughn's, best bet. I completely agree. I'm on that over. But in addition, I'm going to pair up Penix in the passing game. Again, receiving over as we talked about it. But Jalen McMillan, I mean, the usage rate for this guy has just been, in the stratosphere. Both him and Rome Odunze play every single snap, right as rain, no matter what. In terms of the last 6 games, actually, you could even go all season long. Last 10 games for Jalen McMillan, he has had at least 8 targets in every single one except for 1. So 9 out of 10 games, he's getting at least 8 targets. Okay. In the process of that, he is getting double digits in 5 of the last 8. So when you're looking at Penix, we know what he wants to do. We know what their head coach, Kellen DeBoer, he's been doing it for years. He took Penix over from Indiana. He is a passing game-centered coach. 69.5 yards for Jalen McMillan. He has gone over that in 5 of the last 6 games. Not just over that, but he hasn't gone below. He's gone 77 or more in 5 of the last 6 games. So that's even an 8-yard cushion based on what his trends have been. I just think with the usage rate, with Texas being better against the run than the pass, I do think we're going to see more scoring. I do think that it's not going to be a problem for Washington to be able to advance the ball on Texas. And I think that this is going to be another over situation. I'm pairing the wide receiver quarterback combo. Another thing with Washington, the entire team is back. Washington has 0 opt-outs, guys. 0.
Oh, great.
Here they come. As we mentioned, Texas having Rashawn and Bijan out, you're going to be starting a running back who's had less than 20 carries in his career. Probably have Jaden Blue out there. All right, good luck. A lot of things have to happen for that to come to play, but I'm riding Washington in the game and on the props.
All right, let's ride. Let's ride to the Duke Mayo Bowl, Maryland versus North Carolina State. Guys, we talked about this in our betting the Big Ten. North Carolina State, 1-point favorite. I'm going with North Carolina State here. Listen, for me, it's MJ Morris. He is the difference maker in this game, right? And I was actually shocked that the only major opt-out on this North Carolina State defense was Devin Carter. Like, I thought we would see a lot of opt-outs, but then you think that some of them are actually underclassmen and can't opt for the draft, and there's no sense in them transferring right away. I like North Carolina State in this. Tulia Tagovailoa is going to be down his top 2 receivers, which also helps me out against a team that's going to struggle against a good defense. What you like, Eric?
Yeah. In terms of this, you're looking at these 2 teams, and NC State, excellent defensive team. We've seen them have problems since Devin Leary went out. MJ Morris came in, 4-star true freshman, to look great, but then he got hurt again. And we had to return to the 36 Jax Chambers, which was a problem for the team. And let's be honest, of course it's a problem. I'm on the situation where I just think, as you mentioned, Maryland missing 2 of their top receivers. I do think that, we've seen NC State, when they've had good quarterback play, they've been tough to beat because I don't know if Maryland can pass on this pass defense. And that's what their identity is. So I am going to back NC State as well, Brad. We're both on the -1. You could even go with the money line, but let's roll.
Let's get it. Let's get it. V-Money. Tell me what you like.
Oh man, you guys are gonna twist my arm on this one. This was gonna be probably a no bet up until kickoff until we get more status on the Maryland offense. Because you guys, I don't know if Maryland's gonna be able to throw the ball all on NC State like that to where the Wolfpack should be able to throw the ball and move the ball on Maryland quite a little bit. The Terps allowed 23 or more points every loss this season, 30 or more in all but one of those games. NC State's offense, we joked about them, how they don't look that great, but they still scored 20 or more points in 4 of the last 6 without Devin Leary, and we were on a team total on that one. So, I'm trying to look at the over 46.5. Don't know if I'm going to get there, but I'll just sprinkle on the NC State money line with you guys because I think Maryland's showing last year in their bowl game, the 51-14 win, doesn't really represent who they are this year as much. So I lean NC State in the over.
Let's get it. Next, the Sun Bowl, Pittsburgh versus UCLA. UCLA a 5.5-point favorite. Total set at 53.5. I'm on UCLA. Listen, we talked about this no slowness for Pitt, and we're going to go with what? Nate Yarnell, who didn't attempt to pass all season. Listen, all this Pittsburgh defense is out. UCLA is going to be flying high. Charbonnet, if he plays, if he doesn't, cool. DTR is probably going to play. I think this is a blowout in the making. This is going to be one of those games where, unfortunately, it's going to be on one of the major networks. They're going to be talking about what can we do about opt-outs? What can we do about transfer portals? Because it's ruining bowl games. And what I'm going to tell them is you just bet the other side. You make money from it. That's what we're going to do. Vaughn, tell me what you like in this.
I'm with you. We're going UCLA minus the 5.5 as well. I'm a Pittsburgh guy. I never liked Pitt football, though, and I don't like them this year either. Slovis is out. They got their running back out. Defense is not the same. I'm just looking at this team in general, and I think they're a fade versus UCLA's offense. Better bets taking the Steelers this weekend than the Pitt Panthers, in my opinion. But we're also going to be taking a moneyline parlay. We're bringing it back, ladies and gentlemen. UCLA moneyline and Florida State moneyline parlay. I love this. I don't know what the issue is here. I think this is a good win. I think UCLA is going to be laying 7 to 7.5 by kickoff. It's already getting juiced on FanDuel and other books. So if you like UCLA, you should play them today, in my opinion.
I'm on UCLA as well. That was my people's parlay pick. So without any further ado, since we're getting tight on time, next,
South Carolina. This is Gator Bowl. South Carolina versus Duke.
Versus ND.
South Carolina versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame 2.5-point favorite. 51 is the total. I did not have a play on this game. I was confused, so I'm going to lead it. I'm going to send it over to you, Vaughn. Give me a little guidance on this.
Yeah, so it looks like I'm the only one that likes this game so far, but I was laying the under pretty hard until I read this quotes coming out of South Carolina. They're talking about offensively, everybody's pretty much leaving the Gamecocks team. They only have 1 or 2 tight ends on their roster. They've down some linemen. The receiver also opted out. I don't know where this offense is coming from South Carolina. And Marcus Freeman, remember how fast they came out last year in his first ever game, a first bowl game ever? And then Oklahoma State said, not so fast. Y'all had us in the first half. We got you in the second half. Marcus Freeman and company want this win after what happened to him last year. So I like the Fighting Irish here, a team that I don't like betting on. I think this is a good spot for them in this bowl game.
Yeah, in our bowl series write-ups, I am going under 51.5 points, and it's for many of the reasons you stated. In addition to the players you mentioned being out of South Carolina, so is the number 1 running back. Yeah. He's out too, Marshawn Lloyd. So great, everybody's out. And then you go over to Notre Dame side, no Michael Mayer. We know that his starting quarterback, Drew Pine is in the portal. Tyler Buckner hurt his shoulder. He could maybe throw a Hail Mary and be ready. I doubt it. Starting a third-string quarterback with all this? Yeah. I mean, gosh, Notre Dame's defense, 25th in success rate, 35th in EPA. South Carolina, 27th in FBS and pass defense. Okay? Yeah, they're missing a few starters due to opt-outs, of course. But who's going to be throwing the ball? Yeah. I just think this is an under. Just take the under and move on.
Move on. Before we go to our next one, we're talking about Notre Dame, so I'm going to invite you guys to play Irish Pick'em. Play the college football pick'em on NBC Sports Predictor app for your chance to win $10,000 every week. It's free and it's easy to play. And guys, listen, from first down to touchdowns, we can all win big. Feel free to enter with plenty of cash prizes. Go download the NBC Sports Predictor app. Do it now. And let's move over to the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, Wyoming versus Ohio. Ohio is minus 1.5-point favorite. Total set at 42.5. I don't have a play. So go ahead, Eric. Tell me what you like.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under. And because very simply, the heart and soul of Ohio was Curtis Rourke, their quarterback. He got hurt. In comes C.J. Harris, their backup at the helm, and he just isn't Curtis Rourke. On the other side, Wyoming, Titus Swen, their running back, declared for the NFL after being dismissed from the team. And the 3 other of their top 5 backs are all out. So I don't understand how they advance the ball particularly effectively. They have the 2nd worst passing attack in the country, and they have to rely on their run game. I just think this is going to be bowling shoe ugly, as the great Jim Ross would say. Give me the under 42.5.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there. I don't have anything locked in for this game, but I was looking at the under as well. I was hoping we can get this up to 43.5 or 44, and then I want to take the under. But if not, if this drops down to 41 or 40, I'll likely be on it anyway. It's going to be an ugly game, one that no one wants to watch. So
I think the total came from 43, so it's on its way down, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm still passing on this game. I know tomorrow I'll probably have 2 days from now, I'll probably have some action. I'll be in Atlanta prepping for the college football playoffs, so I'll be anxious to bet on something. So I'll put something on Twitter. Let's move over to the Orange Bowl. Clemson versus Tennessee. Clemson a 5.5-point favorite. I'm on Clemson here. Listen, first of all, I know that that Miles Murphy's out for Clemson, but we get Cade Klubnik playing. I'm not gonna be able to say it right now. We get Cade playing
in the club, Nick.
He is, he's raw, but he's going to be the bright light against a team who is down their starting quarterback. They're down their best wide receiver. They're pretty much down everyone who matters. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Milton. And by pressure, I mean actual big, huge Clemson defensive lineman in his face. So go ahead and give me Clemson. I don't want to take him at 5.5, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm in too. -5.5. Okay, so be it. Tennessee, as you mentioned, Hendon Hooker gone. Both their top receivers who will be day 2 plus draft picks, Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman. Both are stars. Both of them gone. Tennessee's front 7 is a pretty good group that's tough to run on, but their secondary, 86 nationally. Okay, good luck. We got Cade Klubnik in, as mentioned. We don't have DJU out there making bad decisions. Now, Clemson's still averaging 35 points a game, all right? And even though they were the 101st rated pass attack in the country, that is no longer the case with the changing of the guard. Clemson, 10th overall D this year. I know Miles Murphy's out, but Brian Brzee is supposed to play. All right, we're still going to have plenty of talent on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
I just think with a set of backups for Tennessee, it's too much for them to be able to win. So I am taking Clemson.
Woo! Let's go.
Broke out the new Hopkins shirt.
Let's go. I love that. Vaughn, what you got for us, baby?
I don't know how I'm going to follow it up. And D-Hop, man, you lost me my fantasy matchup, bro. Catch more than one pass. But anyway.
Trace McSorley lost it. Trace McSorley lost that matchup, not him.
I lost my matchup with the decision-making that I made this week. But we won't go there. I like Clemson to win this game as well. I took them on a moneyline parlay with Florida State. You're almost getting them at plus 100 money, so I like the value here on this moneyline parlay for sure. With Cade being the quarterback, that's all I need to see. That's really all I need to see to bet on Clemson. Him, Drake May, lock them up for my Heisman bets next year. I love what these guys can do. They're going to move the ball. It's going to be a great game. I think Clemson wins and doesn't have a problem scoring 35+ on Tennessee.
Absolutely, absolutely, guys. Listen, before we invite you to move on to the next show, and that is Bet the Edge, which starts at 10:45 in the next 5 minutes. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. There was a ton of people who joined on a Wednesday morning to hear us talk about college football, hear us talk about the thing that we love the most. So for Eric Froton and Vaughn Dalzell, I thank you guys and have a great, wonderful day and best of luck. Take care.